Today we are going to play around with something called the Short Action Customs Final Scope Level. Now, Short Action Customs makes some pretty cool stuff. Most of it I can't use because they tend to be geared more towards the PRS shooters than F-class shooters, but I do own a few of their products and they're very well made. And I've always seen this on their website, and I don't know, it's hard to admit, but this is one of those products where it makes me feel really stupid because I've read their description, I've watched their videos, I've looked at this thing countless times, and I couldn't figure out why I would need to buy one. It just didn't make sense to me. I set up scopes all the time. I have them on my front rests. I get them level. I get my actions level. I get my scopes level. I use a plumb bob. I just couldn't figure out what. I don't know. It's just weird. The product description just left me kind of wanting. But a buddy of mine bought one. He's had it for a little while, and he goes, "Hey, do you want to play with it and see what you think?" And I said, "I don't know what to do with it." And he goes, "You're overthinking it." He goes, "It's just so that you can take all the variables out of mounting a scope into a set of rings so that the scope is perfectly level or square, whatever you want to call it, within the set of rings that you're going to mount onto any gun at that point." And that sort of simplified things, right? Because, sure, I've got a really great front rest that is rock solid, and I can go to the range. I've got a big rear bag. Maybe I'm an exception in F-class because I can keep my gun really steady and level and square. But even as good as those rests are, if I bump my stock a little or move it a little, I can throw it off just a hair, which is enough when you're trying to set it up. So I started thinking about this, and what I've done is I've gone ahead and pulled off my current scope, and we're going to put it on here. Now, I've gone through the trouble of already leveling this within my vise, and I have this pointed out my back door, and about 50 yards out is a plumb bob with a bright pink string that I use. And what you need to do is basically get this base squared up so that it is pretty level. Now, I've got mine pretty darn level. It does not have to be perfect, though. This just needs to be firmly anchored to something that isn't going to move. And I've got this, tight, and I've got this tight. It's not going to go anywhere, and the base is as level as I need it to be. This is the piece that needs to be level, and they give you a lot of surface area on the sides to put a level. They do recommend using this one, which my buddy had bought, which is the Start Pocket level. It definitely seems like it has a good place on it because they give you plenty of room for this particular model. I don't know how other bubble levels would work, on here, but they do give you room up top if you want to put a level up here. And all of this is precision machined, so all these levels are square to each other so that no matter what you do, it's going to show you if it's level. So I've made sure that this thing is perfectly level, and now what I want to do is I want to go ahead and mount my scope up on here. Okay. And it helps if I loosen the screws enough. Okay. So now we're going to get that mounted up. And what I want to do, because we're trying to really shoot for repeatability, I want to mount this the same way that I would mount it on my gun, which means pushing it forward into the pick rail, and I'm going to be using my torque wrench and everything. So let's just get that taken care of here. Let's see, here's my 45, and we're going to just get this pushed forward and tightened up a little bit. Okay, so that's just snugged. And we're just going to snug these, and then I'll come back and torque them. Again, goal being repeatability. If this is how it's going to be mounted on my gun, I want to make sure that that is how I am zeroing everything. So now I can come back in here and get this torqued up. All right. There's that one, and there's that one. We got two more to go here. All right, so that is going to be torqued down exactly as it would be on my gun. Now the next thing is going to be loosening my scope rings. And the goal here is not to, at least in my particular case with what I'm trying to do, I am not using the scope as a reference in any way. So I'm not going to be putting a level, even though I know people do it. I don't have to because I've got a plumb bob out there. So I am not going to be using any part of the scope itself to tell me if I am true to level. What I'm going to do is, now that I know that this base is perfectly level, I am going to loosen my rings up here, and then I need to go open this door so I can see out into my field. And let's see where we're at here. And now I can move this just a little bit and it stays square. And I am lining this up with my plumb bob out there. So now it is where I need it to be, and I am going to make just whatever little tweaks I need to. So right there is perfectly square with my plumb bob. And I'm just going to very lightly snug this down so that it doesn't move. And we're going to take another look here. Okay, so now that this is just a little bit snug, what I want to do is change my power setting a little bit. I'm going to zoom in on this plumb bob a little bit. And we're going to so that is, boy, that's really close. Let's see here. We are, I don't think it gets much more plumb than that. So that is looking really good. So I'm going to go into, and it's really cold. It's like 30 something here today. So we're going to shut this door now that I'm done with it. And I'll come back and do a final view on it once everything's tightened down. But this is snug enough where I don't think it's going anywhere. So I'm not worried about that part. So I'm just going to come around and just hand snug these for a second. And that's really all there is to it. So now what this does is this gives me the confidence that within my scope base itself, or set of rings, everything is square, so that no matter what, once I have this bubble level set on here, I know that it's exactly level with where I want it to be. And I typically am going to set this upper level so that, you know, the bubble isn't in the middle. I want it on the left side or the right side so that it's right on that line, because then it's truly repeatable, which is just about where it is right now. So we're going to just come in here and do that. So let's get these rings tight. And back here, that's just a little off. I want to tighten this side down. You know, and this has nothing to do with the final level itself as a product. But you know, the more I've played with this, and this is the second time I've only really played with it one other time just to get some familiarity with it. I found myself appreciating where this could really help people, especially guys who have multiple guns, a lot of scopes, maybe guys who mount up a lot of optics, definitely gunsmiths. And looking at the parts that are included and stuff, you know, I don't think the $200 is a bad price point. I mean, it's a pretty awesome level system once you kind of figure out what to do with it. And again, I mean, I feel stupid saying it, but I'm just being honest. I couldn't figure out what to do with this based on their website. Now that I see it, it totally makes sense. I appreciate what it does, and I'm liking just knowing where it's at for the level on my gun. And you know, now this particular scope, and I'll do my other one here as soon as we get off camera, but you know, I feel really good that I am perfectly level with my plumb bob that's outside. And now I know when I get up on the line, as long as this bubble is just on the line, I know that I am in a 100% repeatable position every single time. So, if you mount up a lot of optics, or you just want an easy way to make sure that you are 100% true, pick up one of these short action customs. They're not going to be for everybody, and I'm not getting paid to say this. They didn't give it to me. I'm just borrowing it from a friend. But I can definitely see the attraction for some people. Again, not everybody, but it is a really cool product if you are in need of it. And I've got some new rings that somebody's sending me in a couple weeks, so I'm going to hold on to this until I mount those up. But it's kind of a weird feeling now that I have this. I could see myself possibly buying one, only because you can do this, you can do the whole process, and then just throw it on a gun, and it doesn't matter on the gun anymore, right? Like the gun's going to do what the gun does, and as long as you whether you're shooting off a bipod or a front rest or whatever it is, as long as you have a true level that you're working off of that represents what plumb is to this, then you're good to go. So I know where this bubble is. I'm feeling really good about it. I'm going to throw it on my gun, and we're going to go shoot tomorrow. I don't know if it was off that much, to be honest. I think my scope was pretty darn true. I've mounted a fair amount of optics in my life, but it does give you a different level of confidence. So if you're looking for something to kind of help you with that, or you have a need, you might want to look at this thing. Otherwise, at least you saw what it does. Maybe it helps you not feel as dumb as I was, because I just couldn't figure it out. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you guys have a good one. Talk to you later.